2022. Has appropriate meeting notification been made?
Yes, Your Honor, it has.
Thank you very much. If you'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Here.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Here.
Alderman Kavieski.
Here.
Alderman Douglas.
Here.
Alderman Rosick.
Here.
Alderman Zaffel.
Present.
Alderman Ellis.
Here.
Alderman Spiegelberg. Here.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve minutes for December 21, 2021.
So move, Kavieski. Second, Douglas.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Do we have any comments or from the citizens in the audience? I don't have any blue cards. Do we have any specific comments or topics you want to share with the council at this time? Okay, we'll move on to committee reports. Finance, consider act on resolution 22-R3003, approving the fleet budget amendment for 2022 and 2023 plow truck purchases. Mr. Pickard.
So tonight I'm before you to request an amendment to a current budget item for a plow truck. We have $240,000 in the budget, and the cost came in at $271,800. So we would ask to move $31,800 out of the fleet surplus funds into the fund to purchase that truck. That is currently our 2022 slotted truck. Then the reason for the increase is due to supply chain issues. Metal costs are going up, and there's about an 8-month delay on the budget price from when we got the price to when the budget was approved, so costs have gone up. And then I'm asking, because of also supply chain issues, to pre-order 2 trucks for 2023 to be delivered in 2023 and be paid for in 23 at a fixed cost. And Karen, earlier you had asked me what that cost was of those chassis, and the single axle for 23 is $109,997, and the tandem was $120,654. And then we add the upfit cost to that also. So that would be option number 2 in the resolution. Looking for approval for that.
So I'd like to open up for comments for Mr. Pickard. Alderman Zaffel.
This is frustrating to see, but I get it and I understand, just because I know the constraint on vehicles at the moment. Vehicle I have just received was ordered over a year ago. So the question that wasn't asked in committee, but I'd like to ask now is, with the trucks that are being phased out, will we be able to resell them, or will they be scrapped, or how
No, they will be going on the Wisconsin auction municipal site to be auctioned off.
Okay, and do you anticipate what we could recoup at this point?
Well, the one that we just auctioned off, we auctioned it off for $3,500.
Okay,
Sounds like John wants a dump truck.
Yeah.
thank you.
City.
Joe, real quick, one of the things that we, when this cost came up, we got together and said, do we really need to be purchasing these trucks because of this cost? So you want to walk through?
Yeah, absolutely. I can go over that. So earlier we talked about the 3 Sterling trucks that are no longer being manufactured. Those trucks are in the 15-year-old range and breaking down, and we can no longer get parts for those trucks because they're not manufactured anymore. So this is not a change to the long-term financial plan. This is something that was in the long-term financial plan. I'm just would like to pull the trigger a little sooner on the 23 trucks so we can get them in 23 instead of what they're telling me 25 before we would get them if we wait to order them.
And for everyone in the audience, this was dealt with just a little bit earlier this evening in a little bit greater depth. So the council's been going back and forth on the pros and cons. But if we have any other further comments, Alderman Shellpepper?
Yeah, I just want to say keeping our roads open is one of the basic functions, I think, of city government, and one of the things that our citizens expect us to do, so they can, pick up their kids, go to school, go to work, engage in commerce, and we would be, in a dereliction of our duty if we didn't do this. And then in 2 years, we couldn't get the trucks. And then we have trucks that aren't working and we can't plow the roads. And I don't know if anyone's paying attention to what happened on the East Coast on 95 over the past couple days, but there's people stuck out there for, dozens of hours because those roads aren't plowed. So it's imperative that we do this. My concern is though, just on a larger base, is how does this affect us, our budget for 2022 and other vehicles and other, kind of capital
I
costs
can address
that we're looking at.
yeah.
I'm just worried that that's something I hope we put enough emphasis and attention to.
Yeah, I can address that a little
Okay.
bit, just to give you guys a little idea of what I've been doing. So we've been reaching out after the budget was approved. We have several trucks that are heavy one-ton trucks, 5,500s, 4,500s. Instead of ordering those trucks, I was able to look out onto the websites and find trucks that are already built that may be 1 year old but brand new yet, and secure those trucks. So we've filled all those positions of trucks to
Okay.
order, doing it that way, buying something that's already manufactured. And that worked out really well for us. We do have something coming up in the Parks Department that is going to be an issue, and that's a wide area mower. That the budget numbers that we are seeing right now when we go out to look at wide area mowers are over what is in the current budget for a wide area mower for the parks. So you might hear more about that in the near future from either myself or Kevin about either doing an amendment, trying to make what we got work another year. I don't know how readily parts are available for this old wide area mower that we have.
Alderman Douglas.
You said these are about 15 years old? What's
Yeah.
the replacement cycle that we're at? Are we getting about
We
15?
really try, the preferred one is like 10-year cycles.
So we're
And these are over the
Doing well.
10-year cycle, yeah.
doing well there, okay.
Yeah.
Alderman Rozak.
The only other note I'll make is in the memo itself, it said for this budget amendment, we're actually only using money out of fleet reserves.
Correct.
So we're not
Hitting the-
screwing up our budget for next year at all. That's why we have reserves for these kind of situations, and so I'm in favor. I'll move to approve the resolution 22R3003 with option number 2 as moved in the Finance Committee.
Second, Zaffel.
Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Douglas.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zaffel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Thank you very much. On to new business.
No.
No, we got
um,
the utility.
Utility.
Utility, on to consider Act Resolution 22-R3002, awarding the engineering design services contract to the Northeast Regional Park Lift Station, Park Restrooms Pavilion. Mr. Freeber.
What I'm here tonight is, bringing before you is the engineering design service for the Northeast Regional Parks Lift Station. This lift station will serve all the property from inside Highway K, County Highway P, and County Highway 67. So this is not only going to be for the subdivision that Prairie Creek Ridge LLC is we're going to be working on, it's also for the properties that are connected to that, inside of that section. The cost of the design is $65,000. That $65,000 is 5% of what we believe the construction cost will be. Normally, during when we do RFPs and for construction or design costs, they're between 7 and 10% of the actual construction costs. So this $65,000 is only 5% of that cost. The reason why we're doing this in a quick amount of time is the the Prairie Creek Ridge LLC is looking to put pipe in the ground already before the end of this year, and they have to have our lift station in the ground for them to set their depths for the sewers that they need to put in.
So at the earlier committee meeting, it was recommended with some modifications to the resolution to move this forward. Any further discussion from Mr. Freeber? Alderman Rozak?
Yeah, very briefly. Craig, what's our park impact fee right now per unit per house? Is it 26? It's 3 now, so if
It
we
was
had,
28 last year,
January.
yeah.
okay, so 20, okay. So just so everyone's clear, just the park impact fees on the houses in that area that's gonna be used towards the actual park and rec side, the restrooms and potential concession stand is $750,000. That money takes us out of the red in the park impact fee. Now we'll be using a little bit more on this, but that's exactly what these things are designed to do. The other thing I'll note is, even though I don't like the fact we didn't RFP this, the fact that the builder's paying for it and the builder's demanding that, you know, we need to move fast on this so they can start building, and they can pay whoever we hire. That's kind of my opinion. So we don't have a choice. We got to move quick. They've already designed one of these for us before. They're paying for it because all of those charges for the lift station and the design is all being charged back as an assessment to the builder for that whole section.
And the land.
Yeah, and the land that they're buying from the park, from us. So I think it's a no-brainer at this point, and I think we should approve it with the changes I made. So when we're ready, I'll move with my changes approved with regard to the concession stand.
Alderman Mulder?
Kevin, when would we start building out the pavilion and potentially the concession stand on this? Would that be
Well,
immediate?
I would assume, no, it's gonna be probably 3 to 4 months for design,
Okay, all right.
and then we'll go out for bids for construction.
'Cause my concern is, you know, we don't have a master plan for that park, so even the decision as to whether or not we want the concession stand is in my mind, we're fast-tracking that decision as well now, and that impacts Champion Field and lights we spent $150,000 on last year, and so there's a lot of dominoes that are falling because of this one particular decision, and I just, that park has the chance to be a jewel for us, I think, and serve a lot of the new population of the community, or we could get it wrong, and then we just have a big open field that isn't being used. So I guess that's my concern in this. I agree we have to do it. I think the way the amendment you've made, Matt, works well, but I just want to be cautious and say we really need to think through all the steps in this once we get this rolling.
Alderman Kavieski?
Echoing a lot of that, but I think it's worth talking about the impact fees and the growth in that area, because it wasn't too long ago that there were some concerns that that area wouldn't develop quite as fast and that we were spending a fair amount of money that may take a very long time to recover. And with the success of the Northeast regional area, that has gone from red to black relatively quickly, and keeping up on that with the utilization is what the concerns are. Those are good concerns, and I think council has got their eyes on that, as well as the committee levels with Park and Rec and those things. So as the public is listening to this and sees the development, and one of the concerns that often follows development is, what is the city doing to keep up with infrastructure? This is one of those infrastructure elements that's critical to seeing that continue to move forward. So with the amendments and with knowing that there is eyes on the utilization and the option for the concessions and how that scales, I'm very comfortable with that.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll move resolution number 22R3002 as amended. This is the amendment. Now therefore be it hereby resolved, section after pavilion, semicolon, with the concession section bid as an alternative.
Second, Ellis.
Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder?
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper?
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski?
Aye.
Alderman Douglas?
Aye.
Alderman Rozak?
Aye.
Alderman Zappel?
Aye.
Alderman Ellis?
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
Aye.
Then on to new business. Consider act on local primary election for February 15th, 2022. Ms. Conan.
Thank you, Mayor. I have put a revised memo at your stations. There was a temporary memo in the packet. So the deadline, as you know, was 5 p.m. today for candidates to file their paperwork for the office of mayor and for aldermen of District 1, 2, 3, and 4. With that being said, we do not have more than 3 candidates for any of the positions. I will tell you who did file. For mayor, we have Robert P. Magnus and Lou Kavieski.
Who are they? Oh, sorry. You have to read about
For Alderman District 1, Matt Mulder. For Alderman District 2, Charles Shellpepper and Andrew Maroney. For Alderman District 3, Matt Rozak. And for Alderman District 4, John Zaffel and Jennifer Altman-Kloth. So we do not, or council does not need to take action whether or not to hold a primary.
At this time, if Mr. Maroney and Ms. Cloth are here, would you just rise just so council knows who you are? Great. Cloth, thank you. Maroney, thank you. Welcome and thank you for putting your hats in and being willing to serve the community. Any further comments, Clerk? Ms. Conan?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Mayor, nothing.
Okay, let's move on. Update and discussion on accurate appraisal assessment issue of a single parcel. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, sir. A couple weeks ago, a gentleman came in to pay his taxes and questioned why his assessment went up just over $10 million. We didn't have a good answer at that time. We've been doing a lot of work on this. We don't have all the answers here tonight, but the one thing we wanted to do was to get this item in front of the Common Council so that they knew that this happened and that we are working on it. We have staff from Accurate Appraisal here tonight. They're going to be talking about this, but I just wanted to do, a real quick walkthrough. Because of the dollar amount, we have no intention of having this party having to pay that amount. We'll reassess their property back to a more normal number, which is about $140,000 decrease in taxes. That $140,000 is spread over several entities, the city being one, with our portion being about $48,000 of that. So there are ways, this isn't something that's never happened before. So the Department of Revenue does have procedures on how the other entities can be recouping their money and how we move forward. The folks from Accurate Appraisal will talk about that. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we'll be coming back to the Common Council for a budget amendment because the city will be paying that $140,000. All of the entities will be made whole by us doing that. And then as part of the procedure, by October, we file a form with the state to let them know that this error was made and that we want to invoice those other entities to get our funds back from them. They can then take what they had to pay us back and add that into their levy without any levy limit impact to them to recoup those costs. So there are ways that that can take place. There's some other slight options out there, but there are avenues for the other entities which will be made whole out of this year because the city will be paying that, and then how we are able to get our money back. So I'd invite who's ever going to speak from Accurate to talk about the assessment, kind of what happened and steps going forward.
And as they're coming up, just a couple quick comments. The individual family and resident that was affected by this has been absolutely wonderful and in this process, and we're working to make sure that they're well taken care of. And on the second part, because of the impact not only on the city, but also on the Oconomowoc Area School District, staff and myself, we've reached out to the Oconomowoc Area School District to give them the alert and the heads up so they wouldn't be reading this in the newspaper. And so our goal is to continue that, building that relationship with the school system and opening more communication. So when good things and bad things happen, we can try to come to good resolutions and move things forward. So Accurate, thank you very much for coming. If you'd please introduce yourself, and Council, you'll have a chance after they share their opinion and story to ask any questions you have of these folks. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Jill. I'm the statutory assessor for the city of Oconomowoc, and this is Jim. He is one of the owners of Accurate, and along with us is Addie, the operational manager, and Josh, he is your account manager. So I just wanted to let you guys know, everyone knows that we finished up with the market reval this year, and a very critical error has been brought to our attention. So we did want to come down and let you guys know that we are taking 100% ownership and responsibility of this error. We do understand how critical it is, how important it is that we do take full responsibility for this. We have taken the initiative to talk to the city administrator and to Lori, the director of finance, to do our part in taking this responsibility to make the city whole again. not only for our relationship with the city, but because we do feel it is the right thing to do for us to step forward and make the city whole.
Yeah, and like Jill said, my name's Jim Danielson. I'm one of the owners of Accurate Appraisal. I just want to come down and support what she's saying and reiterate that, you know, we felt we had a successful reevaluation. It's obviously unfortunate that we discovered this error. We did a lot of talking today with Mark and Lori. I think Mark, even the mayor at one point in time, Mark did a good job of summarizing kind of how the steps work from here. We've also been in contact with them around, you know, getting creative around making the city whole. So we just wanted to come down and go through that. It's an unfortunate error. It occurred. We own it. We have steps in place so it doesn't happen again. That doesn't solve the problem of the error. So
What does making whole mean?
Yeah, that was my question.
Covering that through errors and omissions?
We talked about errors and omissions. I talked to our insurance guy. We also talked about reducing contract price.
So we have a multi-year contract with them, roughly about $70,000 a year. They discuss reducing that by $12,000 a year over the next 4 years to offset the $48,000 that the city is looking at. As I indicated, the Department of Revenue has procedures in place for the other entities to become whole out of this, with the city paying it up front. So they're not out anything in their 2022 budget. We would then invoice them back for the part that we had to pay. They're able then to take those dollars and put it into their 2023 calculations and collect those dollars then without penalty.
So they increase their calculations for the next year, essentially, their portion of the mill rate?
Correct.
Alderman Zaffel.
Has there been any other errors discovered in this at all? This is the only issue?
I don't know that answer, but
There were two other errors, yes.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on those, please?
The errors were essentially where we worked with an individual at the time, so no.
Open book.
Open book. How the process works is people get their notices.
Could you stand in front of the
I'm
microphone?
sorry. How the process works is that people get their notices. It's called the open book period. So assessing, it's mass assessing. During this period, they get their notice. They then have up until the Board of Review, which is typically 5 to 6 weeks, if they have questions on their value or they have a different opinion of value. So the other two errors did occur when these people did come to us, and we worked with them to reduce that value. They provided documentation. The documentation looked legit. We came to agreed value. That value was changed. However, on the export end to the county, that value did not reflect properly. And the people did have a signed waiver, and we did have in our notes that that value should have been changed for whatever reason on the export end, which we've since put in place a system to catch that, but that was not changed, so that's considered a correction of error, clerical error.
Alderman Zaffel.
Have you experienced similar issues in other communities where you guys do appraisals as well?
Yes, many communities, we don't have any errors. Sometimes errors do occur. It's something that we're working on, but it is mass assessing as well. I'm not making an excuse. We own the errors. The errors were made by an individual assessor, but it does happen in the industry, yes.
Thank you.
Alderman Ellis.
There were several occasions when I've received phone calls from individuals about their assessment. One in particular had stated to me that her everything had doubled compared to what she was paying the prior year. Not happy about it whatsoever, and she did not know of the process associated to what you were just referring to. Is there a way in which they can call you or something along these lines at this point, especially now that this is kind of a sore subject?
oh yeah.
So, and I want to elaborate on that more because we send out the initial invoice, right? And with that, we send the whole process. Like that's a bright pink flyer on how to do it. We try to work with Diane and Lori on how to get the word out. We put it all over Facebook. It's all over our webpage. And with the fact of it being for the next 4 years, we're going to continue to try to educate, because we have heard feedback of, oh, we didn't know that. We didn't understand that process, even with the breakdown fact sheet of this is what this means, this is what this means. So we are doing our best to get the word out there. And I think we're gonna, even Josh is gonna talk to Lori to find out different avenues. Like, do we need to put it in the newspaper? Do more people read the newspaper in Oconomowoc than go on the Oconomowoc City Facebook page? But just to be able to help people understand this is where you go to find that information, or call us any time of the year. It doesn't have
Okay,
to be.
you're not answering my question. Thank you very much for the
Yeah.
information. I appreciate it. At this point in time, who do they call?
Oh, they
Who
can
do
call our office
speak to?
anytime.
Okay, is there a card or something that you can hand me later that we can go ahead and have? Because
Sure.
I will need that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Attorney
And it's on your
Riffle?
website, I believe.
I'm not trying to, protect these guys, but every single one of you in this room, if there was a change of assessment, got a notice of the change of assessment. And there is such a thing as personal responsibility. I hope still. You open up the envelope and you say, geez, my property is worth $400,000. They say it's worth $10,500,000. I'm not, trying to, like I said, carry any water for these folks, but there's still personal responsibility, including the person you're talking about, that their property value went up double. And it might be a lot of reasons,
Well, they did come to the city, and the bottom
Did
line
they go to
here
open book?
is, I don't know that.
Okay.
But
Well,
what I do know,
and
but what
that's-
I do know is that they did come to the city,
Okay,
and their questions were not satisfied.
okay. Well, I don't know about that situation. I'm just trying to bring some perspective to this, Yeah, should have been caught, wasn't caught, bad.
One thing, and I'll get you, Alderman Kavieski. One thing also that we worked on is that when you look at a bad occurrence, a bad episode, a bad outcome, what can you do to make sure it hopefully never, ever happens again? So that's where all these discussions have been going. And one other component that Lori and Mark and I were working on is a different type of reporting that we'd be able to catch this really actually quite quickly. And so they've said, yeah, we can do that for you. And so the way things are done is anytime something like this happens, let's fix it so it never, ever happens again. Or when we do it at the right time before the final board of review, we have all that information. We can then help those customers realize, their customers, our residents understand that. So that's another component that I think is really, really key for this to go forward. Alderman Kavieski.
Two things. So the city is going to make this whole out of our coffers. That's going to, I would assume, come out of reserves and require an amendment.
Correct. We'll be coming back to Common Council for that.
And then in regards to other potential discrepancies or errors, I know we had a discussion with one homeowner last week, not to the tune of $10 million, but to the tune of an increase of, I think it was 79%.
Yes.
And those, whether it's 100%, 79%, those to me were, as we discussed, outliers. It's not the typical 11% or 12%, but we've seen quite a few of those, I think, come through in the reassessment where it's beyond the norm. And hopefully, and we talked about this a little bit last week too, some of that communication and understanding for the homeowners will be helpful as we move forward. I think the homeowner that we had the discussion with last week ultimately understood kind of where that was going. They appreciated the fact that they could get a hold of you. Hopefully what everybody takes away from this within the community that may be listening to this or aware of this is that they can get a hold of you. And it does not impact necessarily this current tax bill, but it will potentially impact the next bill unless they have another $10 million outlier.
We're still talking to him.
Yeah, right on. So, you know, the engagement and the personal responsibility, I think for the most part, all of the residents that I had conversation with, any concern, was, yeah, I understood that this was an increase, but until you get the mill rate, you don't necessarily know what that's gonna be in your final tax obligation to the city. And then once you get the tax bill, it's too late because all of the avenues for challenging that are already closed. So now that this reassessment has occurred and the mill rate has been relatively reestablished, we're not gonna see a big swing like that again from year to year, which is why we have a 5-year program in place.
Correct.
And once they understood that, there was some appreciation to the approach that is now being taken as opposed to what was in place. So again, there's definitely a negative that's being rectified, and I appreciate your willingness to own up to that and how that's being handled. But overall, I would say, based on what I have seen and understand, these major adjustments will not necessarily be that way moving forward. It'll be relatively flat.
Correct.
Unless you see a major move in the market collapse or
Right,
peak.
correct.
So all that should be understood.
I'd like to, Alderman Spiegelberg?
Oh, I had 3 quick questions. You actually answered the one in how do we, going forward, put into place some procedures between us and them that this potentially doesn't happen again. And then another question I had, that I would assume, and based on what you've said, that this is more likely that this happened, this large one, because we did a total reval this year, correct?
Yeah, a lot of the larger swings like he's referring to were because it's been a long time since the last one. It's going to be a lot more flat moving forward.
And then my other question was, do we know why this individual did not come forward during the open book period?
No, and I've talked to them and they've been very cooperative and very positive, working with the city to rectify it, but no. Alderman Shellpepper.
Yeah, thanks for being here and thanks for meeting with us last week as well. I think that was a productive discussion and it showed your interest in making sure that, you know, our residents' concerns are addressed. Just reading off of a kind of the memo that we had here is, says, I only had to respond to 2 parcel owners regarding their assessments and taxes. I haven't received a lot of negative feedback myself personally, which I was actually really excited about. Then as I had some more conversations with staff, there seemed to be some more issues. And I asked our city administrator and the finance director to bring those specific concerns and problems forward today. That didn't happen. So what I'm asking is for you guys to get with staff again to identify those specific issues and problems and that those be resolved and addressed. Because I don't have all the specifics, but I know they're there.
Yeah, and
Mr. Fry, yeah, because I'm not sure what you're
Alderman
talking about.
Shellpepper, as we discussed, myself and Lori have met with staff, discussed concerns. I had conversations with Lori. The city administrator previous to me had actually had a meeting with our staff and staff from Accurate and covered a lot of those things. Wasn't all, but a lot. But we're also proposing to have a meeting, because this process is now starting over again, folks.
Yep.
And so everybody that's got a concern or felt that it's not right, they now have another chance for, you know, when the numbers come out, to go to open book, to discuss any concerns that they have prior to the tax roll being certified. Because we can make all the changes in the world prior to the tax roll being certified, but once it's certified, it's locked in. So that's where this $10 million hit is coming in. The assessment, the $140,000 hit is coming in, because it came in after. It was never contested, so it came in after. But everybody's going to have that opportunity. But we are going to once again bring together our staff, talk about the concerns they have, meet with the fine people at Accurate Appraisal, which I thought, you know, the comment in the background memo was my comment. So people question their taxes all the time. There was only just those couple that actually got up to my level to be involved, and that's what I was talking about in there. So I think overall, when you look at the average 32% increase through the city, when you look at the numbers that it was, you know, 55% saw an increase, anywhere from a penny to $159,000. And we're getting, you know, like I said, you know, the standard comments that we hear, no one likes to pay taxes, but I think overall the process has gone well. So we look to build on that. We've learned things, and so we'll move forward with that.
And I felt the same way until I received the feedback that I had.
Yeah.
a week or two ago.
I'm a little
so-
bit confused, Alderman Shellpepper. Is there something you're looking for that we're not giving?
Well, I asked,
Confused.
well, I can break this down a little
I
bit
just
more
need help, yeah.
specifically. Some staff members at the finance department approached me, well, I shouldn't say approached me, discussed with me some of the issues that they had. And
Okay.
I asked to make sure that those specific issues or problems they were having with accurate appraisal were mentioned to Mark and
Okay.
Lori, and that those issues were brought to us here tonight, so we could hear more about them.
Gotcha. I was unaware.
That's all.
I'll follow up with
Yeah,
Mark on that.
That's
Okay,
all I'm asking.
cool.
So I've had a very positive experience with you guys, so that's why I was surprised to hear that, and I just want to make sure that it's being addressed, so.
Cool.
That's all.
No, very good. I would like to have just the school board have an opportunity to make a statement or comments here. As you know, that's the largest part of our tax bill, goes to the school system. So I'd like to have the president of the school board, Mr. Wood, if you could please come to address council. And if you have any questions directly to Accurate at this time, you're welcome to make any comments, sir.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me tonight. My name's James Wood. I'm here to represent the Oconomowoc Area School District. And I just wanted to read a brief impact statement for the district on this issue. So early in January, the district was informed by the city of Oconomowoc that the city assessor made a significant property assessment error. The impact of this error will result in an unbudgeted expenditure for the district in 2021-2022. We are concerned about the assessor's process to ensure the accuracy of work, as it ultimately impacts the district's budget and tax apportionment to our various municipalities. The district is legally entitled to the full amount of its original levy, and we're working through this process with our city leaders. While the district can recoup the tax levy, significant unbudgeted expenditures in a given year compromises the community's trust in our budgeting process, regardless of the fact that the error was due not to a district process. So again, just wanted to voice our concern, and I appreciate you guys reaching out and helping us, like you said, kind of make it right.
And I've shared with the council that we are happy to provide our resources to help work together through this. So, and they've been awesome in their communication. So thank you, James.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Alderman Rozak.
I did have two other quick comments. Karen, you asked a question which was interesting. Why didn't those people contest? I'm not quite sure. They do actually live in my subdivision, though. I know who they are with the $10 million. I was excited to hear it because it's in my subdivision. I thought my property values were also going up that much. That unfortunately did not happen. But I heard, and I forwarded this complaint to Mark and city staff too, there was one person who owns 5 different rental houses in town, and he got only 4 letters, not 5 letters, on the open book. So I think there are potentially some people that didn't get letters, and maybe not through their mistake. Maybe the tax bill goes to a different spot than, you know, the notices. I don't know. So that could be one reason why they didn't contest it. I will tell you, my understanding, though, this is only a 1-year issue. It will be corrected essentially next year when it's reassessed and everything will go out in the wash. There's avenues the school district will get paid back. As far as whatever the city ultimately is down, though, I'm glad that they've taken responsibility and are going to make it whole. I don't want to wait 4 years, though, to be made whole. I think it should be our priority to be made whole this year, whatever that takes. So whether they submit it to their errors and omission policy with their professional liability carrier or somebody writes us a check, I don't want to wait 4 years to be made whole. We should be made whole now because we're eating that now in our budget cycle. So that's my preference, and I think it's the right thing to do because that affects us directly now, and it's affecting the school district. So.
And we'll definitely take that into consideration because nothing has been decided or confirmed.
Well, we ultimately have to vote on the budget amendment, so I'm not going to vote on a budget amendment unless we're made whole this year.
So as I opened up, just so you know, Alderman Rozak, this is just come up. We're doing a lot of research on it. The intention tonight was really to talk about and just make the council aware of it.
Yeah.
We were able to get further into conversations and look at some of the processes that are already in place, but there's more conversation that's going to be taking place on this.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, I appreciate those comments, and we'll work with the Accurate people to try to come up with a good solution. Alderman Spiegelberg.
I just wanted to say that overall, we have been very impressed with what Accurate has done, and this does not sway my trust in them going forward. I was part of the RFP process when we selected them, and the alternatives fell way short. So I want to thank them for what they've done. Obviously, mistakes are made here and there. They've decided to step up to the plate, and I have full trust and confidence in them going forward.
Other comments? Is there any other questions that council has for Accurate, or any other comments Accurate would like to make for council? Okay.
This is risky after we were done talking.
I know. But it's for you guys. It's for you guys.
Walk away.
I know you guys get a lot of people that are always talking to you. And again, my best advice is don't have them call the city. Call us directly. Any time of year, not even during open book. They can call tomorrow. They can call next Friday. It doesn't matter. Does not have to be during open book. If it's about last year's assessment, they can call in February. We can flag it and make sure that it's 100% looked at next year. So they do not have to wait until they get that notice. It can be looked at right away. Just call us, not the city, and it will work out much better that way, okay? Just
What's
wanted
a phone number they could call?
That's what I was asking
Yep,
before.
I will get the, yep, I'll get you.
1-800-ACCURATE.
1-800-ACCURATE.
Well,
One thing I would like to do is thank you all four of you for coming, and basically taking ownership and trying to work with us for solutions. Bad things happen, and we can talk about a lot of things, but it's our actions that really speak loud. And your actions here are speaking loud, and now you have another challenge. You've looked at trying to make the city whole for that $48,000. Well, now you have a challenge that we would like that money sooner rather than later. And so those are the things that we're going to have to work on, and I'm comfortable that we'll come up with something that I think we can bring to the council for you guys to debate and you guys to decide and vote on. So thank you very much.
Mayor, just one more quick question, sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
What's your policy on when you respond via email? It seems like you have one general accurate appraisal email, is that correct, for customer inquiries?
Yeah,
So I just want to say, I just want to make sure, do you guys put a name on that when you sign off? That was, some feedback that I received, is I don't know who I'm talking to over there, or who's giving this.
Yeah, when we send out the notices, Jill, as the statutory assessor, is on there, but we have like a question at accurateassessor.com that goes to our customer service department.
Okay.
So they get it first and they respond, and then if it rises to the level that Jill needs to make a decision, then it goes to Jill.
So when someone responds, it will say on the bottom.
Okay, I don't think that happened in the email we were looking at, but I'll believe you, and sounds good, so.
Okay.
Thank you, yeah.
This card doesn't have a name on it. Whose name am I putting on there?
I just did a blank card. Yeah, the next show number.
Every single person is an assessor.
The 800 number is the 920 is a fax number on the card, but it's identified.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm confused. So you have an 800 number and you got a 920. The 800 number is?
Kevin, you got to put your glasses on. It says office and then fax.
Any other comments on this update discussion item?
I've been on council with you for too long, buddy.
So it's not even 9 o'clock, Kevin. Folks, thank you very much. And for those that came for this, thank you very much. We'll move on to other agenda items. What would be nice is for the Accurate folks, the Conococheague School District may want to connect with you. So if you could do that in the hallway after this meeting, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
On to our next, we have some staff reports. We'll start first with Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two quick items that I want to report on tonight. Earlier today, the Employee Safety Committee met. The topic that we were discussing was vaccine and mask mandates. There's been concern raised that we really didn't have a policy out there. Since the start of the pandemic, our Employee Safety Committee has been very involved with the direction that the city has gone in the protection of our employees, trying to follow the information that's out there. We all realize that there was a lot of unknowns at the start of the pandemic, and things that we were doing, a year and a half, 2 years ago, we might not be doing today, only because now we've got that knowledge going forward. We wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that the wearing of a mask or being vaccinated is a personal choice. And that's what our policy, the Employee Safety Committee voted on. If that needs to change, they would discuss that, the Employee Safety Committee, to determine what's good for all the employees through the city. They would discuss that, and that information would be reported from the administrator to the Common Council if there's a change to that. We wanted the flexibility because everything keeps moving around. There's always a different variant, but we also have things that we could have a train derailment in the city with toxic gas or something like that, that would preclude us to have to do something quickly, with our employees. We also want to be able to look at things from more of a local level. Obviously, when you talk to CDC, they're looking at something more nationwide. We might not be having the issues here or the same concerns, as I think has kind of been proven out over the time. So we wanted that available. So that took place today to get that into place. The other thing, I didn't get a update out to the council as I normally did over the holidays. I apologize for that. A lot of the department heads try to enjoy a little time off. Wasn't many things going on. I'm pretty sure you all knew when it snowed and we plowed. But, one of the things that I did want to update was I had met with Chief Pfister. We've been, he's been working on the whole transition to WCC. Right now, that process is moving along very, very well. We did have another dispatcher that recently resigned and has gone on to a different community. Because of that, come January 13th, yes, I couldn't remember, 12th or 13th, January 13th, our third shift will no longer be active at the police station, and we will be at WCC for our third shift. And then the final transition, moving everything over, is slated for the end of March. The only thing right now that might hold something up is we've had some monitors on order since November, and we have not yet received them. So that right now is the only outstanding item that's in between us and being able to do this smooth transition. So I did want to make everybody aware of that.
Great. Thank you very much. Are there any other staff reports that I'm not aware of? Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to reports or comments from Aldermen. Does anybody have any comments that they'd like to share? Alderman Kavieski.
I would like to thank you for getting that topic addressed through the safety committee. Going through that process, I think, was all I was looking for, and it took many months to get some movement on that, and I think having that policy voted on and approved, and for our current employees and potential future employees to understand where the baseline is a good thing, and I appreciate it.
Welcome, thank you. It was a group effort. Kevin's the head of the committee.
Yep, I much appreciate it.
Other comments from Aldermen? Oh, sorry, Chance, I didn't see it.
No, you're good.
Alderman Shellpepper.
I just wanted to welcome some of the new faces I'm seeing in the crowd tonight. Appreciate you guys being here. It's good to see some new people's involvement, and I think that kind of begs the question, or drives to the issue of streaming committee meetings. Said we were going to talk about that January, so I'm hoping it's going to be on the agenda for this next meeting, because multiple times today, during this meeting, you alluded to the fact we had discussions at committee meetings previously. Those were all substantive, pertinent discussions that the public deserves to be participating in.
It's in the queue. It's in the queue.
And to hear about. And so, when I ran 2 years ago, it was fiscal responsibility, thoughtful growth, and community engagement. I feel pretty good about the first two. I don't feel as good about the third. And I'd feel a lot better, and I know a lot of the community would feel a lot better if we were streaming the committee meetings. It's something we've all asked for, or at least a majority of us have. So whatever we need to do in terms of numbers, staff, whatever it is, can please get that on the agenda.
So
Get
that
it knocked
item's,
out.
yeah, Alderman Shellpepper, that item's part of a larger process that we're just now starting to look into. We want to look at the overall committee structures, the timing of the meetings. Well,
It's too much. It's too much to think about. We streamed a committee meeting for dispatch. We did it. We've done it before. We can do it. We did it so all these other things that we want to talk about in organization are not relevant to the streaming.
I don't disagree, but I do look at it as part of the overall process of what we're going to be doing with the committee meetings going forward. And that is something that we are now just starting to work on.
I'm not satisfied with that answer. And so I don't know what we need to do to get it on. So are you saying this isn't going to be on the agenda at the end of January?
I don't know the exact date it'll be on the agenda because, to Mark's point, we've tried to look at all the committee structure and say, how can we do this better? And so what we're trying to do is look at that, bring all of that information to you for you guys to decide which to do. In addition to that, we're also looking at how can we save some money on all the paper that we print? Can we do things for all of the packets that you get every week? So what we're trying to do is bundle that all together, bring that to you for you guys to discuss. And what it's painfully obviously to me right now is you have the one agenda that you'd like those streamed now, and I hear that loud and clear. I'll talk back with Mark, and we'll try to decide if we can get that on sooner rather than later. But we don't have it scheduled. We don't have our full agenda for the 18th of January scheduled yet.
And if anything, we just bring it to the council in terms of the resources that are needed to make it happen, so we can have a realistic view of what it means, and we can weigh in on that decision.
And we have priority lists, and it's been lower on the priority.
That's the problem. That's the problem. And I knew that, and I knew that. I knew it wasn't a priority. So and that's a problem. I know it's not a priority for some individuals, but it's a priority for the community, I think, overall, and the majority of this council, so.
I hear you loud and clear. Just look at what happened in the last 3 days just with finding out all of this stuff. So we're doing our best because we hear you loud and clear, and we've heard all of you loud and clear to do that. We want to do it and do it right, but I don't want to bring a topic to you without us having the details behind it. And I've said that from day one. If we can bring you the information so you can then make a good decision based on all the information, that's where it is. Unfortunately, this topic is not coming fast enough for you. I get it.
I don't think it's just me, but.
And
yeah.
what we also have to do is there's a lot of things going on, and we're trying to deal with all of those. So hear you loud and clear. Mark and I will talk about it at our meeting next week on Monday, and we'll see if we can put things faster there. But then we're going to have to put other things on the sideline. So there's only so much we can couple in there, and we'll talk about that. Mark, do you have any comments?
No, I made the comment I was going to make.
No problem. I love the passion. Any other comments from Aldermen? Okay, if there's not, I just have a couple comments as mayor. First of all, thank you to our new folks that are running for service to the city. I think it's great to have competition, and it's great that people are willing to serve our community. And I just want to give a shout out to some of our staff that did a really wonderful job, and I'm not sure if who was able to attend, but we had the New Year's Eve or New Year's Day drop for kids and families on Saturday. Western Lakes Fire Truck brought their big truck. They created a drop, and that was really the impetus of that was really our city staff. So I just want to give a shout out to Christy, to Paige, to Megan, the Western Lakes Fire folks, department folks, and really all of the sponsors that made that happen. So if you weren't able to do that, what? Oh, and utilities, absolutely. Sorry, Joe. Well, and our police. I mean, there are a lot of, yeah, there are a lot of people to thank, but I was there, and it was really fun to watch. When you watch the kids, you watch that, and trying to get some more positive things going on in the community, I think is wonderful. But it's really a shout out to a couple of the folks that it was their idea that were city staff here, and they made it happen. So pretty cool. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, Kavieski.
Second, Ellis.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, everyone.